Dungeon Defenders is a tower defense action RPG hybrid released on October 19th on various digital download services.
Etheria was once a land of living legends.
The story in Dungeon Defenders revolves around 4 young heroes from the realm of Etheria. Long ago, evil creatures known as the Old Ones were trapped in Eternia crystals by legendary heroes. Now, the adults of Etheria have been called off to fight in a distant crusade, leaving only the young warriors in training to defend the land. Of course, this is when evil strikes. Monsters begin attacking in force, with the ultimate goal of destroying the crystals and freeing the Old Ones. The story is fairly unobtrusive, with cool-looking motion comic-style cutscenes at the beginning of the game and every few campaign levels. For the most part, Dungeon Defenders is a story-free experience, with gameplay being the main focus. So the generic fantasy plot is to be expected, though a more well-integrated and well-told story would have been welcomed. Dungeon Defenders features several modes of play, but the bulk of your time will be spent in the campaign. The campaign consists of 13 levels, with difficulty and complexity increasing with each level. Levels can take anywhere from 20 minutes to near an hour to complete, meaning that in just the campaign alone, Dungeon Defenders has quite a bit of content. Add to that the 13 challenge levels, PvP arena, multiple difficulty levels, and cooperative play, and you've got a game with more content than most high-profile releases. And this is just a $15 downloadable game. The primary objective of every level is to protect your Eternia crystal from enemy attacks. You do this by building defenses, much like any other tower defense game you may have played before. What sets Dungeon Defenders apart from other tower defense games are the action and role-playing elements. Each wave has 2 phases, the build phase and the combat phase. During the build phase, the game plays much like any other tower defense game. You place defenses all around the level until you feel you are prepared, you hit the unit limit, or you run out of mana, the game's currency. When the build phase is over, you begin the combat phase. In the combat phase, the game plays much like an action RPG. You can run around the level and fight enemies yourself, as opposed to just letting the defenses take care of everything. This gives you some leeway, as you have the ability to compensate for any mistakes you may have made while setting up your defenses. However, make no mistake, at its heart, Dungeon Defenders is a tower defense game, meaning that it is entirely possible to complete a level using defenses alone, without ever fighting anyone as your main character. You can choose from 4 different character classes, and they are based off standard RPG archetypes. The Squire is your typical knight or warrior, the Apprentice is a battle mage, the Huntress is an archer or rogue, and the Monk is a healer or cleric. When playing co-op, it is essential to have a balanced group, as each class has different abilities, defenses, and combat effectiveness. Co-op is the way the game was meant to be played, as it is essential to use defenses from each class to complete almost every level. It is possible to switch characters on the fly when playing alone, but only the character you had in during combat will gain any experience for that phase, meaning you'll have to grind earlier levels to get your character's experience up high enough in order to have any shot in the later levels without a group of players. Fortunately, Dungeon Defenders gives you every opportunity to play co-op, allowing for 4-player split screen, 4 players online, or any combination of local and online players. This is a very welcome feature, especially considering how so many games today don't even offer 2-player split screen. The RPG mechanics in Dungeon Defenders are quite robust, given that it's a hybrid of several other genres as well. You gain experience toward leveling up when defeating enemies, regardless of whether you killed them yourself or your defenses did it. Each time you level up, you're given points to distribute to either your character's base attributes, such as damage dealt or overall health, or to improve the effectiveness of your defenses. As you level up, you gain access to new character-specific abilities and defenses. The game also features a large emphasis on loot. The loot system works similar to more loot-focused games like Diablo and Borderlands. This means that each item will have descriptors as well as a base item set to determine its effectiveness. This can increase the replayability immensely if you're one of those people that can easily succumb to loot lust. In addition to these role-playing elements, the game also features weapon upgrading and pets. While at the tavern, the hub area you travel to in between levels, you can spend mana to upgrade any weapon you find, making those rare drops all the more effective. You can also buy a pet in the store, such as a hawk or dragon, to aid you in combat. These RPG mechanics make Dungeon Defenders deeper than many games that try to build themselves as RPGs. The actual act of playing the game is quite an enjoyable one. You can choose to play the game from a traditional tower defense camera angle, or pull the camera in right behind your character for a true action game feel. The controls are responsive and the combat is quite satisfying. I played the Xbox 360 version and found the setup for the controller to be quite simple and intuitive. The game utilizes a radial menu in order to build defenses and access character abilities. This allows for fast and easy building on the fly. There aren't any combos or tricks to combat, with the prime determination of effectiveness being your character's skill level and the weapon you have equipped. The enemies themselves actually differ quite a bit from what you would normally find in a tower defense game. In most tower defense games, the enemies follow a set path and never stray from it. In Dungeon Defenders, you can see where the enemies are coming from, but they are governed by limited AI as opposed to a set path. They will always go primarily for your crystal, but they can stop on the way to destroy your defenses or even attack you. There are also a few boss fights, with one occurring every few levels. I found these segments to be some of the low points, as they don't require the type of strategic thinking the normal parts of the game do. You've seen the game in motion for quite a while now, and as you can see, it's quite a good looking game. It features a cel-shaded cartoon art style that fits the tone perfectly. The motion comic style cutscenes also look great, and they're all narrated with a very tongue-in-cheek tone.
The monk, who has taken a vow of silence, stoically stares off into the distance, as if remembering something from a dream.
The music is great as well, with a nice understated beat during the build phase, which quickly ramps up for the combat phase. The tavern also has a very medieval pub-sounding song that plays while you're there. My only complaint is that there are only a few different songs, with each being used on multiple levels. The sound effects and voice work, what little there was of it, all matched the high quality found in the rest of the game. Though I did notice a couple of sounds that seemed to have a lower bit rate than everything else, which was kind of weird. They're so rare that it's hardly even worth mentioning. Simply put, Dungeon Defenders is a great game. It expertly blends tower defense, action, and role-playing into one fun and addicting package. The strategic nature of the game will really get your brain going, and it's great fun to work together as a team to find the best way of completing each level. I would completely recommend Dungeon Defenders to any fans of strategy or tower defense games. Furthermore, due to the action and RPG elements, Dungeon Defenders is a perfect jumping-on point for any fans of role-playing or action games that have had an interest in getting into the strategy genre. The large amount of content and engaging multiplayer modes will have you playing this one for a while, and at $15, it's well worth your money. This one gets an 8.8.